Hello, everybody out here on the internet. This is Tabletop Junkie bringing you another tabletop review. And as most of you guys have known, if you guys have seen me recently on other streams, you will know that today we are going to talk about my favorite TV series, Star Trek Adventures. No, we are not going to talk about the TV series. So, therefore, I misled you, and I'm totally sorry for that. At the same time, I'm not. The point is, we're going to talk about Star Trek Adventures today, the TTRPG. So, before we get started, I am bringing in a couple of my, very well known junkettes, which we just call them junkies. And don't call them junkettes. That's that's probably subjective. We should just say junkies because they are tabletop junkies just like me. And the first person I'm going to introduce today is my co-host, the Witch King.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Star Trek Adventures. Hope you enjoy the stream and yeah, Star Trek Adventures probably not my favorite Star Trek game that I've run, but or played, but it really is good. Especially if you have a group.
Well, before we get started, let's introduce our last guest here
Oh,
before
I'm
we
sorry.
go on, because you started on a rant there, Witch King. I hate to
I
interrupt, but
apologize.
let's make sure we get the last person out who's sitting in the back, rolling his eyes possibly, and it's your famous friendly neighborhood, Toby.
Hi, I'm the punching bag. I've returned.
Okay, all right, Witch King.
And
we
how do
just
you know I was rolling my eyes?
because the Witch King was going on a huge tangent, and you were like, okay, come on, get me out here. Get me out here before we start. Well, before we start with the review, I had to silence him, and I will not do it again. So, Witch King, please give your statement. I'd love to hear this.
Oh well, I was just gonna say the way we tried to play Star Trek months. Actually, it might have been over a year at this point.
Yeah, it has
Um,
been.
Nope,
really?
nope. We played in July.
Oh, never mind then.
We
Well, we're close to it.
literally, I am bitching about 60, about 60, 67 days. Short of that.
Fair enough. So,
You're like 30-ish days away.
mhm.
40.
So
Maybe.
what I was gonna say was, um, I've only played this game with Tabletop and Toby and one other guy, Ironcaster, uh, but I don't think this game excels very well at the whole small group thing because you kind of have to have the bridge officers and honestly, as much as it probably pains Tabletop and myself to say this, we were basically doing lower decks if it were good.
I actually liked that the lower deck theme that we had going on because you know, the sad thing is I cannot say anything about the writers, the current writers per se. But I like to think they also maybe took that idea of lower decks from Star Trek Voyager. Witch King, if you remember correctly, there was an episode where Janeway did not know four of her officers because they were lower decks and they were able to blend into the shadows.
Well, there was also one or maybe two TNG episodes that focused on like the night crew of the Enterprise.
Yes, which were also they were the auxiliary crew, which we didn't even get to
Mhm.
see a whole lot of that in any series.
So that's basically what we were in that game.
You weren't auxiliary. Technically, Toby was a senior officer, even though he was an ensign.
And I was.
You were a
I
lieutenant
think
commander about
I
to
was
get.
no longer an ensign. I had ranked up.
Oh, that's right. You were a
Yeah, I
lieutenant
was like
junior.
the highest ranking officer in that game.
Yes, lieutenant
Because I just
commander.
followed all the rules of Starfleet.
We do got to get back to that game because it's. I'm. And the reason why I say that is one, I've been working something out with I'm trying to get with Ironcast to work something out where we do get back to gaming a little bit. And you three were the prominent player. You were the only players in that game. And right now we have 2 days left on the voting polls on the Twitter account, and right now the 24th Century is winning. So what
I
I'm
hoping we
so
would
I
play
will
these
be
first
so in the
or
next
22nd.
or so in the next 48 hours, I'm going to be announcing which year we're going to play in, and I think we're going to run it alongside the USS Hailstrom.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you'll be playing on stream with newer characters, you can still encounter the USS Hailstrom in your former characters.
Cool.
If we
So
run across my former characters, I want to play my character.
if we run across your former characters, you will not be playing your character. You will visit your character, and you know what? You did make a friend relation. You know what? Honestly, the one that I have to say, the one that kept stealing the spotlight was Toby. And for a
Mhm.
guy who doesn't know anything about Star Trek, he did I mean, yes, he screwed up a few
A lot.
times because he doesn't know anything about the show, but I felt it brought flavor.
Oh, it really did.
Yes, he was the most, and it's nothing against you, Witch King, or even Ironcaster, but I would have to say, out of all three of you guys, Toby's character was the most flavorful.
Mm-hmm.
So at least we can agree on
Because he
that.
was an idiot.
Wasn't even that big of an idiot because you were playing a Vulcan Betazoid, which has never been done in Star Trek. That would be interesting to actually see. I think you really captured the moment on that one.
Well, I think we know why it's never been done because they just become so neurotic and crazy about their telepathy.
Well, you got the Betazoids who are like basically space hippies. You're like, everything's good. We can hear everyone's thoughts. And then you got the Vulcans who are, this is illogical. They are actually literally two races on opposite ends of the spectrums. I don't know
Oh,
how a
definitely.
marriage would work.
It was an interesting childhood.
All right, let's get started with the review. We've talked about our game with Star Trek Adventures, so we're going to start reviewing Star Trek Adventures. So I do have the book right here, but I unfortunately will not be able to show it on screen due to copyright issues and stuff like that. But we are going to talk about what the book does provide. I do own multiple copies of. I own the PDF version and I own the regular book copy. And as a matter of fact, my physical book copy was actually half off because I bought the PDF. But I didn't just buy the one PDF. I bought a massive amount, so I ended up getting a couple of my books half off because I was just doing a mass buy. This is how this is the story about how Tabletop Junkie became Tabletop Junkie. Mass buy. And unfortunately, Star Trek Adventures was not the only game I bought either. So yeah. Anyway, talking about my
Someone say
addiction.
mass discount.
It wasn't really a mass discount. I mean, the physical copy book I got for the core book was only 50% off. The other ones, I think I paid all but 10%. So, no. I got $5 off the other books that I bought, minus the Cleon book. I paid full price for that one and full price for the PDF. So yeah. I got $5 off each because there was only like $25 and I was able to find them at a local store. So to continue with what we're talking about, we are going to talk about what the book does provide. The book, as far as the system goes for Star Trek, I think it does outline Star Trek very well. I think the book, however, has left out some flavor text to be desired because I had to read this book 5 times before I can understand where everything was at.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my biggest issue. But one thing I do like about the book is you cover things such as the introduction, which is the introduction of the book is actually the history of the 24th century. And I think they even cover a bit of the 23rd century. And they do put in excerpts from the TV show and references from the TV show of what happened where. They do tell you about what kind of dice you need. And then they move into something. And the greatest thing is every text is like flavor. So the introduction is called the introduction, granted. But they, which has all the game stuff like how to game master the players, how to be a character, what you may need, and then they call up to basic training. And basic training is basically the introduction of, okay, once you get everyone together, here's some information about Starfleet, about what you need to know to play this game. And then before you know it, you moved into the earlier history. Like I said, covers the the 23rd century. It covers things of the known galaxy, covers some major planets such as Bajor. Bajor was a big plot planet in DS9. Covers the Cardassian Union, which was also DS9. Even covers the Maquis and the Cardassian DMZ, which was actually a big thing for TNG. No, the Marquis was a thing in TNG, but it was a small plot in TNG. It became bigger in DS9.
Yeah, that's where it really took hold.
Yes. And then you had the Breen Confederacy. The Breen. Oh, yes, the Breen Confederacy. I was thinking of another race that made me think of the Breen over in, I don't know what race that one was.
Delta or Gamma Quadrant?
Delta. Because I know
Yeah.
Janeway has encountered many different races over in the Delta, but the Delta was largely unexplored. But this
it still is in the late 20 or like the 25th century, as far as we know.
Yes, and it is still largely unexplored. And honestly, it is even largely unexplored in Star Trek Online, and always has been. They have not thrown anything in that yet, but they don't know what to throw into it. So you know what they decided to go to? Nothing against the people at Star Trek Online. They're just doing what the writers want them to do. They introduced several different timelines, such as the Discovery timeline, the Kelvin timeline for the movie, for the Christopher Pine and Zachary Quinto movie, which I have no problem with them as actors. They are really good. I did not mind those movies. I did not like the third movie, which I forgot what the third movie was.
Beyond?
Yes, Star Trek Beyond. I did not care for that one.
Yeah.
That one I didn't care for, even though my great famous actor that I love so much, Idris Elba, plays in that one a lot, but you can't recognize him. But I didn't really care for it. So anyway, and I loved the, to stem from what was said on another channel last night. If any of my viewers caught that, I loved on how Sulu actually had a husband with an adoptive daughter.
Yeah,
because that was not widely played out in the actual original series, but it was not announced that he was ever married to a woman either.
Although we do, I don't know if you remember this, but when that came out in the movie, George Takei was like, I don't like that. I'd rather my character be different.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
For a guy, George Takei has got he's a very respectable actor, really, really nice guy from what I understand. I've never got the chance to meet him. If I get the chance to meet him, I will have a heart attack, just so anyone knows. Because
I'll take that into account.
Yeah. So if any of you guys are ever with me at a Comic-Con, make sure you revive me. I don't want to die meeting one of my idols of all time. Sulu, it was an idol. Chekhov was an idol. Definitely Leonard Nimoy was, and unfortunately I will never get the chance to meet him. Love Nimoy. Rest in peace.
You'll probably be able to meet William Shatner, because he's forever, basically.
We'll talk about and we have someone who just came on and said, Jace.
Hello, Jace.
I think he's kissing me on the face. Jace, if you want to come in, man, I can give you a link. Just let me know. I know you may not know anything about what we're talking about, but and if you just want to watch, fine too. DM me. Jace Fox, everybody. He's the guy responsible for my intro. So yeah, and like I said, it covers talking about the look, another. Oh wow, I guess he's kissing you guys too.
Oh. No, I think this is all for you, Tabletop.
I don't know. I think three of them is one for each.
No,
one for each cheek and then one for the mouth. There you go, all for you.
Toby. Jace, I need that damn video you were showing off last night. I need that. That would have been perfect for this, and I don't have it yet.
What is it, Tabletop? Did I say something wrong?
Moving on. All right, now that the square is gone.
Fine,
I mean, if
fine.
anyone's a square, it's you, Tabletop. Because I mean, you're not for
What the
this.
fuck is this? A damn mutiny?
Yes.
Not anymore, it's not. Oh, yes. Okay. Give me 1 second. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, ho, 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 ho. You're all in trouble now. Anywho, before we continue here,
There,
let's
you
continue
can play
on.
that game.
Wait, how does that work? All right, it's a freaking mutiny against the starship captain of the USS Hailstorm. Well, we don't know what
This is an
starship we're gonna
outlaw
play
ship
in.
now.
What's up?
This is an outlaw ship now.
The Marquis took over. Recommend to watch Star Trek so you guys know what we're talking about.
Mhm.
So we also cover the Ferengi Alliance. Well, they give us a lot on the Alpha Quadrant in the core book. And they even cover the Beta Quadrant, which is always my favorite because I love the Klingon Empire, and
Mhm.
so does the
Mhm.
punching bag.
All hell Keelcook.
You know the funny thing is he challenged Klingons and he got drunk off of Klingon blood wine. And you know what we figured out? That Rollis Tren cannot hold his own liquor.
He can.
Now he can after several injections of let's stop him from getting drunk. Let's stop his liver from failing.
Vulcans are not made for alcohol.
No.
And Betazoids, oof, that's like crossing the streams there.
Yeah. Yep.
He's
So
special.
unfortunately, this book does fall short on only on the Gamma and Delta Quadrant. So for more information on the Gamma and Delta Quadrant, because they only do cover a large planet and some large areas of the Alpha and Beta, because unfortunately in Star Trek, when you go to warp drive, it's not very fast. You can't cross an entire you can't go from one end of the galaxy to the other within a day. It actually takes 70 plus years.
It's not like Star Wars in some of the movies.
Punch it.
Boo.
No,
Okay.
it's not like that.
It's like, okay, we're at the other planet, but we've only been flying for 3 minutes.
Because that is awesome.
Well, I think I can do the Kessel Run in under 10 parsecs. Also, that joke is not fitted for Star Trek because Star Trek does follow the normal of, you know,
Laws of
the number of
Science,
light light years or parsecs is not equal to time. That is a totally separate
it's
variable.
related to time, not distance. Oh, no, it's related
Right.
to distance, not time.
Exactly. So the only two threats that they do cover for the Delta is my personal favorite, the Borg.
Yeah.
I wish I had a Borg picture now.
Telby should have a Borg picture. Because the Borg are punching bags.
I don't know if I agree with that 110%, but
What about what's his name? The Borg who everyone fell in love with in Next Generation.
Hugh.
Yeah, he's a punching bag.
Yes, Jace. I'm getting it uploaded now. I don't know if Hugh was really a punching bag. That was kind of interesting concept, though. An alien race that is supposed to be hive mind.
And if they're separated from the hive mind.
Yes. And technically they followed that in Voyager as well, because 7 and 9 had a mission that the Borg got separated and they started experiencing individuality, but then she got reassimilated back into the Borg on that mission. It was a flashback mission.
Well, is that Star Trek Online, you said?
No, Star Trek Voyager. There was an episode on it.
She did come back from that, I thought, because she came back from being in the Borg.
No. What I'm saying is there was a mission that her Unimatrix was on. It was a small group of it was her and like 3 others, and they started experiencing individuality because they were separated from the hive mind because they had a broken And then when the Borg found them, because they released the beacon, when the Borg found them, they found out that their inhibitor, their emotion inhibitors or whatever they had, some of their cybernetic parts were failing.
Mm-hmm.
because they couldn't necessarily repair, which is great. So that means the board can't survive everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
But you
then,
send out a virus that'll affect all of their hive minds.
right. And then one more thing I do want to cover is just the Dominion is also covered in this book, as well as the Q Continuum. And because I mentioned the Q Continuum, that is all we're going to cover in that whole section there.
Although I never encountered Q or any of the Q Continuum in our game.
No, you were out for that mission. it was I think the only one who showed up first was Toby, and then Ironcaster came in. Ironcaster says, "So what did I miss?" Oh, Toby is playing. I had a Hunger Games theme going on, and Q wanted to play the Hunger Games with everyone, and he says, "Oh, so Q's here?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Okay, good night, everybody." And
Yeah.
he left. He's like, "Nope, not getting involved in that one."
He then came back right away, but still.
Yeah. You lower life forms are so. Yeah. Here we go.
That's something I wish they would have had that kind of look to the 21st century and the newer Star Trek shows.
I wish they did encounter Q, but then how would that work in history in the 21st or 22nd century?
Picard season 2, they encounter Q, and he's old.
No, it was the primary episode of season 1.
Well, apparently he's in season 2 as well.
Yes.
And he's
yes.
older.
Oh God, no. Q's throughout the whole. Q's in over 8 episodes of Star Trek. Well, okay, Star Trek TNG. He's actually his character guest starred in. I counted it last night. 12 episodes, and throughout the whole series. That
and
was one.
He also played the father of Jesse's drug addict girlfriend in Breaking Bad.
Oh, did he really? John Delancey. Love you, John Delancey.
Fun.
So, all right, moving on. And as I said, the book does cover the earlier history, even the 23rd century a little bit, where you get to meet James T. Kirk. Before I go into this game here a little bit more, what do you guys like? Well, you know what, Toby, you wouldn't answer this one, but what do you think about James T. Kirk?
Personally, I think that a lot of in universe, I think he's a lot of hot air.
Okay.
I think that he has done some awesome things in setting, but I think a lot of it has been misattributed or just made up by himself.
Okay.
I mean, TOS aside, and some of the early movies, a lot of that was just luck. If you think about it.
Okay. Yeah,
but
very true.
I do think that Scotty was the best, one of the best, if not the best engineer in Starfleet history. He's second to what's his name? Miles O'Brien in DS9, because that guy was just wow.
Okay, fair enough. I was just I just wanted to hear your opinion because there was always been that issue of who was the superior captain, Captain Kirk or Captain Picard. And
I mean, I would say that Kirk is a good captain if you're interested more in like the kind of younger captain going on adventures on planets and stuff. But if you wanted the more thoughtful, cultured, more intellectual captain, it would be Picard.
Which one has Spock in it?
That would be Kirk.
Well, technically, Spock has shown up in even some of the TNG series, but the one that actually has Spock the most is the one with Captain Kirk in it.
TOS.
And if you want to kind of go off of actual things now, technically he was also in Discovery. And I say that with a smile. The reason why you can't make up the words I'm saying is because I am smiling and not moving my lips because I choose to not acknowledge. I choose not to acknowledge that.
I say
bite your tongue and turn the other cheek.
It's what I'm doing.
I say what we should do with those new series is just take the good stuff from them and use it in our
That's a good
games and
one.
ignore everything else.
Oh, I am actually. I found some dark. Well, I wouldn't say dark secrets, but I found some secrets about them. But before we continue, I wanted to say hello to our good friend here, Pops. He has come out to show love and support. And Pops, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much. And he does have a little something to add here. Kirk is a wartime captain. Picard is a diplomat.
That is
That
true.
is the difference. And technically, if I remember correctly, didn't Picard start off as a science officer, or was that just an alternate universe thing? I can't remember.
I think that was an alternate universe thing.
Okay, good enough. We'll leave it at that. Yeah, I'm going to review that though. I'm going to review that just to make sure it
was an alternate universe where he basically never was as interested in ascending the ranks of.
Oh, and that was because he got stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
That was that was an
history.
alternate universe. He got stabbed, and instead of bouncing back from it, they said, "What if you went the other choice where you were scared?" So he just became a science officer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I remember that. That was, and I think he also became a medical officer too in that series where he was. I think he was replacing Beverly, and then Beverly took over command.
I kind of recall that. I could be mistaken though.
You know what? I am going to rewatch. I have all the DVDs of Star Trek and everything else, and I'm thinking about buying my Paramount Plus back so I can review that episode specifically. Because yes, Tabletop Junkie is the guy who doesn't want to touch his DVDs. His DVDs are right now sitting in a lockbox, and the lockbox would be a safety deposit box if I had my way about it. But safety deposit boxes are not that big, so. That is Tabletop Junkie being the biggest Star Trek fan ever. And yes, if anybody does want to know, I do dust my collection.
You also collect models.
I am getting ready to, because my store, I live next to a store that sells the USS Reliant from I believe it's the USS Reliant from the Wrath of Khan, the Miranda class vessel.
Honestly, I'm not going to lie. If I had the shelf space, I definitely would have the models.
I want to collect the models. And these are straight from the actual model company that has been premiered all over the fandom too. So it is rather it's just awesome. And I was even thinking about showing some painting models. We are actually doing, I did just make a another playlist that I'm going to be doing videos on Star Trek for information and just Star Trek fan stuff. You know, where, you know, if you're a big fan of Star Trek, you can come on, we can just talk about some of the TV series, which means Toby, start watching.
What? Sorry, you say something?
Well, you know what? Then come and be educated.
I'm going to have to do a review of Far Trek because that's my favorite Star Trek game.
You know what? You're going to need to. You're going to need to. Because, and I do promote you, just so you know, you're always promoted on my streams in the middle of the stream too.
I saw you were promoting me on Jace's stream 540 Studios last night. Or was it the night before?
That might have been the night before.
But I didn't join in because it was like the very end of the stream. It's like, well.
Yeah. Oh, but I think you said hello, which is why I promoted you.
Did I? I know you promoted me, but I think
I usually I don't promote. Well, no, I do promote both of you guys, even on the stream, because you guys are always, you know, here. So I always said yes. I do reviews with my co-hosts. So yes, I do promote both of you, even though I just say Toby doesn't have a channel. He's the punching bag. Hey, look, the title's right.
Always have been, always will be. It's okay.
All right. We still got some more things to cover here. Like I said, we just covered the basic introduction and history. It's very well informative. And then you even get into a chapter where, you know what I love? I wish I could show this. You know what? I'm gonna take a risk here for a minute because I love that the book did this. So in the book of Star Trek Adventures, when you get into the chapter where it talks about Starfleet, you know, and I love on how you got these little quotes here, and then it starts talking about the history of Starfleet and gives you some information on Starfleet. They even have the current Starfleet rank pins in the book for you. It's just so fun of pictures and stuff like that. And even it just talks about everything Starfleet.
And the best part is it's
even
all
the
in
Prime
the
Directive.
LCARS format.
Say that again.
The best part, in my opinion, is it's all in the LCARS format.
Yes, it gives you the feel of like you're, in the 24th century in your Star Trek. And one thing I do want to show off that I'm taking a risk on right now too, and I'm glad to do it, is Modiphius. I want to say thank you so much. I'm going to be sharing this stream on your site, on your Discord server too. But thank you so much for this awesome artwork. I feel that they have put a lot of time and money in on that.
Mm-hmm.
The artwork is magnificent. I mean, look, there's right there. And this is just them cover, and they even cover how, what, they even tell you, like, they talk about the Starfleet Academy, and somewhere in this book, I don't know where, it might be this chapter here, where they talk about cadets having adventures at the academy, while being at the academy, because it does happen, and then talks about your graduation. It's just very, very much informative. And look at this, more awesome artwork. This is just, I'm glad I purchased this book.
When I do my reviews, I either don't show the book at all, or I show just little chunks of it.
Yeah.
Or I just flip through it really quickly so that I can focus on just small pieces.
Right. Well, that's why I'm actually going to click it off here in a minute. And last thing I wanted to show, which is very informative, and I will be talking about it in a totally separate video, just not using this book, is the different colors of the division. Now there was a swap in the colors between TOS and TNG. And the TOS, it was the gold that was the command and con division, and then the red was engineering and security. And then in the 24th century, they swapped. Blue has always been science. So that is it. But like I said, that's all I wanted to show off is how
so red shirts always die first, right?
That is only that joke is only valid in the TOS series, but I don't count that either. Although I did just watch the 2009 movie, and the first red shirt that you meet is Olsen, and he was such a jackass, he died within like 5 minutes of screen time. So, yep. Other than that, basically talks about, Starfleet protocols and mission types, science missions. You can do diplomatic missions, first contact, protect and security missions. Just so much information. And I love it. I know for a fact Modiphius did just release a player's book, Game Masters, and a Game Masters book separate from this, for those who would like. And I mean, I can't recommend them because I'm not going to do a review on them. But I did want to mention them because they are an extension of the core book itself. They're not, I wouldn't say edition, but I wouldn't say edition. I would say extension. And the reason why is because it's not giving you anything new. It's just giving you more details on the history and how to play the game. Like keep the episodes episodic, how to come up with adversaries and stuff like that. Stuff that the main core book that we're now reviewing already gives you. So like I said, I'm not going to probably get those books because I am such a Trek fan. I already figured, how I want to do things, and I'm pretty much set in my ways on that one. I may buy the PDFs just to review them for myself, but that's not something I'm going to review probably even on here. So,
oh man,
Witch King, did you ever
remember? I just remembered I sold my Star Trek books I had.
Traitor. Anyway,
no, Ryan.
I'm just kidding.
No.
I will never sell these books. Let me tell you something. I will never part with any gaming books. But if somebody says you have to part with one set, I've already decided D&D 5e is getting it first.
Screw you.
The thing is, with D&D 5e, my dad and I have devoted so much money to it. It's like, oof.
I don't like how they're like so-called retiring books and releasing new books. I don't know. It's just not my thing. I miss 3.5 in a sense, but anyway. So we're getting into going through the book here. Any of you guys got anything to add about your experiences regarding the lore? Basically, so to tell everybody else, the first 80 to 100 pages of the book is literally going through the lore of Star Trek, based on the experiences of the game. We're about to get into the system. Do you guys have anything else to add about the lore of Star Trek before we continue? Before we dive into the mechanics?
I still think that it is technically possible for a lot of the conflicts in the 21st century and 20th century to be connected to the timeline of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
However, a lot of it does not connect anymore. So in some ways, I think that Star Trek as a setting has to be self-contained in its own pocket universe, basically, because like the Bell riots, they obviously didn't happen. That 2019 baseball player who I think won the World Series, and he was like Korean, I think, and he showed up in DS9 on the holodeck. This is when everyone finds out that I'm a bigger nerd of Star Trek.
Yeah, you won't be able to. No, Star Trek has already even did a lore of our timeline already, because in 2020 there was a famous man. It was in DS9. Let me check it. Let me look this up. DS9. I'm trying to think how to word this. Famous figure, I guess. Okay, I just said Deep Space Nine, but whatever. Trying to think. Oh, this is just showing me famous actors. Yeah, this is all famous actors and actresses. Basically, all I was trying to say is there was a famous figure in the year 2020 in DS9 that was accidentally killed in a riot, because at that time in Star Trek lore, the poor who couldn't work because there wasn't enough jobs to go around and who couldn't work was placed in encampments and fed food from the military.
That was Bell,
which never
right?
truly happened. What's up?
That was I forget his first name, but that was the Bell riots, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I want to say his name's Angel something or something Angel. It was I think that's what you were talking about, but that's when Cisco, Jadzia Dax, and that was when Bashir went back in time, and I think Miles O'Brien was even there too, because I think it was 4 of them.
The Bell riots apparently took place in 2024, not 2020.
2024? Okay, I thought it was 2020. Mm-hmm. Yes, because the guy was Gabriel Bell. Yes. Mm-hmm. All right, 2024. Thank you for correcting that. Yes. But it was by the 2020s, the American government, reacting to serious problems of homelessness and unemployment, created a sanctuary district, which we are not there.
I mean, shades of it, but not to that degree.
No, they were, because you had to go and register at a special encampment. You had to register, so they put your name on a card. They gave you rations and stuff like that, but no one ever got called. That's why they call it the Bell riots. And there was even a problem in 1965. Oh no, not a problem. Hang on. There was also in The Next Generation. That might be a book. There was I guess it's called the Watts Riot. There was a story that was pitched about Jean-Luc and Geordi being traveled back to the 20th century Los Angeles, and there was something called the Watts Riot, which is some nice little background information about where this episode was inspired from.
Cool.
So, yes, very, very, very good stuff. So, yeah, as far as the lore is concerned, yes, it needs to be in its own pocket universe. I have to agree with the Witch King on that one. Mm-hmm. Okay, so diving into the mechanics before we go too further into it, what do you guys think about the mechanics? And I want to hear from both of you.
Honestly, the mechanics of 2D20 are probably not my favorite, particularly for Star Trek. I think Star Trek should be a lot more fast and loose and freewheeling. Lots of GM adjudication going on. where there's gray
I'm
areas.
I'm gonna argue that could just be me as a game master not understanding the rules completely either. Because, but then again, if you're also speaking from other games experiences, then yeah, okay, I might not be wrong. But I'm just
I'm
saying that.
speaking from my experience with role playing in general. I think that
Okay.
a lot of games would do better with more, not free form, but freewheeling. So like the game master has more say, and I
Mhm.
don't mind more narrative elements necessarily. I think it's not great for all games, but for some of them it can work.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely got to get the game master screen for this because I think it would help me out so much more. I'm actually creating a small game master screen for September if I don't have the money to buy the actual screen, because when I do this, I'm going to be setting up an actual screen for it on a separate monitor. I might be able to have 3 monitors hooked up to my computer. So what I'm going to probably do is hang one above my head and look up anytime that there's an issue. So I'm actually going to have like sort of a Star Trek-esque look going on to my workstation for this, because the dice here don't work like normal dice. Which once again we'll talk more about that later, because I do have the challenge dice result table here, and we're about to go into a little bit of detail regarding that. Toby, what about your experience
I
with
liked it.
with
I found it
mechanics?
enjoyable and fun. I mean,
Very good.
it was simple enough. I just clicked a button and I got results.
Yeah, you know what, if you guys have to pull up Roll20 for that'd be fine. I think now I finally have, because I'm still reading these books from time to time. I just showed these books off recently to a friend of mine who I talked to back in 2014 and hasn't talked to since, and we just reconnected. And also a Star Trek fan. He I don't want to be too inappropriate, but he had something going on in a certain area of his body when he saw my encyclopedias, because I have 4 Star Trek encyclopedias regarding starships and technology of different races
So,
or
so,
Oh
so
species.
no.
little inside joke. So, like, you're a D&D character. His armor went tink.
Yes. Well, he's a big Star Trek fan, and I hate to say it, us Star Trek fans are kind of like, uh, we're a minority now. We are not even a huge group like we used to be. This used to be a culture, and I feel like
Mhm.
we shrunk.
I think it's really weird because you'd think with how connected everyone is via social media that there'd be a lot more Star Trek fans, but I guess not.
I think I'm probably gonna do another stream, not today necessarily, but another time, where I start calling where I make a video where I start calling on to Star Trek fans to come out of the wetworks, if any do exist. I feel like we're like I feel like we are like the Jedi of the universe after the Imperial Army took over. There's not many of us left. So, you know, um
I still want to play a Star Wars game where we're playing through the dark times of the galaxy.
oh, we'll get there.
Oh, I
Um
know.
I've
I
got
know. I just haven't said
I'm
so.
working with Spartacus right now. We are playing a Han Solo story in the near future,
Oh,
like in a few
neat.
months.
Yes.
You're more
Are
than
we all
welcome to.
smugglers, or is one of us Han Solo, or what?
I'm thinking about making one of the players Han Solo, and then everybody else is going to be extras. And then it's going to be I think I'm going to make it a small group, and then I got to have someone who has to play some secondary characters, which are named. They're like main characters. So they'll carry the main character story arc.
Did I play Chewie?
Yes, when Chewie jumps in, Chewie's not going to be in right away.
Is this going to be like a retelling of the origin of Han Solo? So instead of Solo, a Star Wars story, it's this one.
Yes, it's the Han Solo story. Chris gave me the idea of, let's do a Han Solo campaign of the Han Solo story that we should have gotten.
Hmm.
So yeah,
I would
yeah.
agree with that.
And
I
so
haven't
we're
seen
gonna we're gonna
Solo.
tell
I
we're gonna
still
tell we're gonna
anticipate it
retell the
being not bad.
story through TTRPG, because that's
Hmm.
what I'm good at. So, all right, well, Toby, all right, so I already heard from you guys about the mechanics. So how the mechanics work is I don't want to call it story dice per se, but the dice is translated into certain types of things, because unfortunately when you roll a result, the result has a result to it, but the result isn't like necessarily one. For instance, challenge dice is a d6, which is numbered from 1 to 6. So the result of if you roll a 1 is a 1 damage. Because challenge dice is usually rolled for damages. So here it is. If you roll a 1, you get a 1 damage. If you roll a 2, you get a 2 damage. If you roll a 3 or 4, is a 0. If you roll a 5 or 6, it's a 1 damage plus an effect that the weapon gives. And some of these weapons, such as the phasers, do have things where you could charge them and do extra damage.
Phaser rifle. Pew pew.
Well, the phaser rifle is more like rapid fire. That's a different setting. The phaser I was talking about was the type 2 phasers. The type 1 phasers are your little hand one button press phaser, and then you got this like little pistol hand. You know what? Maybe I'll look it up real quick.
You're good. You continue what you're saying.
Yep. No. You open the door. Here we go.
You shouldn't have opened the door, Toby.
I regret it.
I mean, if we're gonna sit here and talk about things, I don't want our viewers going, "What the f you talking about, man?" And we're gonna say that because I'm trying to keep the language down, because I am trying, because this is a video that I would like the younger generations to get into too. I want to see more Star Trek fans out there, but here's the difference: Type 1 and the 2364, they're all 2364 minus this one. The Type 2 phaser was actually redesigned in 2371. I think that's the Voyager era.
I like the TOS phaser the most, I think.
And I believe the TOS was this phaser here, the Type 1. They said that's 2364, but that is also one from the TOS series.
You see the one at the bottom? The bottom, not the bottom, but like the right under the one you were looking at.
Okay.
It has the hand right below that one.
This one?
Right. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
No. It has the hand. It's like a pistol.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Look in the. I'm sorry. Sorry to our viewers. You see right under the image you were looking at.
Right. Well, I got it right here.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. I had it right the first time. You kept telling me no.
I did. I had my hand in the way of trying to point out to something that you couldn't even see.
I know. This is a 2265 era stuff. So yeah. Much
that's
content.
My favorite. I think those weapons and gear look so much cooler than a lot of the newer ones.
Yeah. How did you like the Enterprise one? Which let's see if I can get an Enterprise one.
I don't remember what the Enterprise one looked like. I thought it looked pretty similar to the TOS one.
It did. It looked like this one.
I mean, I like it because it's kind of like pulp space opera stuff, but I prefer the more angular version.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the lore behind it, the very much lore behind it. I mean, very rich, very enriching lore.
Oh, definitely.
All right, so yeah, so that's how the dice works for the challenge. So it does translate into something. So yeah, when you do play, if you don't actually have the dice from Modiphius itself, because how it would work is, instead of like when you roll a d6, a normal d6, you have to translate it, but the dice itself would have the 1 2 0 0, which would just be blank. So it'd be like 1 2 blank blank, and then the 1 damage with the special effect would be the Star Trek symbol itself, the combat symbol. So I do got to say, I've looked into trying to get some of that dice, but it's not sold anywhere locally, and I just haven't ordered it online yet because it is a bit expensive. Of course, when you're talking about a beloved franchise that actually has been this franchise, really nothing's been sold under a certain dollar amount since this franchise has even been alive, and we're talking and to keep the franchise alive, they've redesigned and remastered the series over and over again, each one. And actually, don't quote me on this, but I did hear something about some Blu-ray editions. I know that the TOS has one, and the TNG just had a Blu-ray come out a few years ago. But I heard DS9 is getting one, but I don't have any information on that. I wish I did. So, like I said, don't quote me on it. That would be kind of nice. So, the book also talks about mechanically how to set up scenes, traits, and all that good stuff, threats, how momentum works, because in this game you do get, that's another mechanic that I like is, we play a lot of fate core in this group. Everyone loves the fate points, but in this game you get momentum and threat. The threat goes to the GM, the momentum goes to the players. However, it is a group pool. So the players themselves can only have 6 among them. You can do something called bonus momentum. If somebody just does something and you're still going to be in the scene for a while and you're not going to transition, because when you transition from scene to scene, you lose a momentum. It's like losing thrust. You lose a momentum, but the problem is too, what if you do something cool where a momentum should be rewarded on a mechanical level? You can award bonus momentum, but it's gone if you don't use it like instantly, even before the scene ends. You can even use the bonus momentum at a GM's rule, just use 1 bonus momentum, but the in a sense, like I said, if you transition from scene to scene, you lose a momentum, but if you got bonus momentum, then you lose all of it, but it doesn't grant you anything else special than that. So that is another one, and the greatest thing the greatest thing that I like to play my games is I don't require my players to know any of the Trek babble that they did, because even in the show there was something called techno babble, and one person said it even took them a long time to learn. I think that was the girl who, oh man,
Was
Marina
it the woman who
Sirtis.
played Jadzia Dax?
No, I was talking about the one from TNG, Marina Sirtis, the one who played Deanna Troi. She said she had to learn one thing because they actually, in one episode, had her going playing disguised as a Romulan. So, and then, so now we're going to get into how tasks work. We're going to be getting into the core mechanics real quick. So real quick, how the tasks work is you have 3 sets of things I don't know what to call them. I don't want to call them attributes because you do have attributes. You have disciplines and you have focuses. These are the 3 core things that is important to your character because they each grant a mechanical use. So as far as your attributes, so you start out, your character has 6 attributes that all start at 7, and you can adjust them during character creation, that points that are being given. The attributes are control, daring, fitness, insight, presence, and reason. And those attributes work in conjunction or combined with disciplines. And disciplines are I love disciplines because they are basically the division specialties. Command and con, which are the red shirts, engineering and security, which are the gold shirts, and then science and medicine, which are the blue shirts. So you want to know what shirt you want to be, pretty much, what shirt your character is best fitted in is based on those results. But however, things can be adjusted to your liking as well. I do not take control, and I do not allow the book or the game to take control based on the character that you want to create for yourself. Disciplines have scores of 1 to 5. They start at 1 and can be adjusted during character creation and cannot exceed 5. Can't even exceed 4, as well as the attributes can't exceed 11 if you are an inexperienced officer. And then the third mechanic that works with those are focuses. And in those categories, representing a specialized training and practical experience in the field. Focuses do not have a specific rating of their own. However, they do grant a bonus. They do increase, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they do increase your critical hit range. So what you do is you take your attributes and your disciplines. So say we'll make it easy. Say, and I'm going to have you do your control attribute with a medicine discipline. You're nervous because everyone is shooting over you, but you got to do first aid. We got to do first aid on Toby here because he's dying. So I got the Witch King. I'm the doctor. The Witch King is sitting there firing, going pew pew.
That blood wine hit too strong.
hit too strong and got shot.
My liver. I can't feel my liver.
That's why you don't mess with Klingons, man.
Well, that's why you don't mess with their wives either. Mating rituals are really crazy.
I would not cross that line.
Yeah, okay. Anyway.
He's stupid, but he's not that stupid.
Yeah, okay. Whatever helps you sleep at night, buddy. Anyway.
I mean, if you're offering.
No. Anyway, back to the review here. So the way the attributes work is you take like a number like 9. If you say you have an attribute at 9 and you're going to use a discipline. However, here's the crappy thing is I'm not really a doctor. I'm an engineer. So my medicine is a 1. So what you do is you add them together. So 9 plus 1 is 10. Ooh, yay, math. So basically all you have to do is roll 2d20, and every d20 that ranks under 10 is a success. Anything over that 10 is a failure. If you hit a 20, that is a fumble. So you got to roll under the result. So if you hit a 20, that is a fumble. If you hit a 1, that is a critical success. If you have a focus on it, your critical success goes up by, I think, 2. So anything like, or no. I screwed that one up. It doesn't increase the number, but you take the number that you're using in your discipline. So if your discipline was actually 3, so instead of it being 10, you have to roll under, let's say, that's 12. You got to roll under 12. All right. So then when you get a focus that does apply to it, you take the number of your discipline, which is 3, and you increase your critical range up to that number. So instead of it just being 1, if I got a 3 in medicine, it goes up to 3. So if I roll a 3, 1, 2, or 3, that is a critical success. That's how focuses work. I almost stumbled there I almost fumbled on a knowledge rule there. But yes, I was using my first example was terrible. I will not lie. And that's how those mechanics work. Witch King, what do you have any thoughts on that? Any of your thoughts on that before we move on?
Honestly, that whole spiel is part of the reason I don't like the 2d20 system, because it can get really confusing, especially with how the books are laid out. And I think the simpler a system is, with enough breathing room to make your own stuff, it can make it so much easier than that. And I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry, Tabletop. Sorry, crap. Fuck. Sorry.
Don't worry about it. Just continue what you're saying.
But yeah, I think the whole higgledy-piggledy stuff with like, oh, you have this rating in this aptitude or whatever, and you combine it with another one that is kind of gray. It's a gray area, so you don't actually know exactly what you're supposed to use for each and every thing. I think that can cause issues, especially when you're new to the game.
I will say this. I will add to that. When we first started playing, there was a lot of vague points regarding to, because like willpower, we had a hard time understanding, if you're trying to resist something, what would that be fitted in? Because you are right. There is a lot of gray area. And it took me a while to realize it's going to be control. And if you're trying to resist, it is like, that's a control command. I now know that. Off the top of my head. I didn't even look that up. If you're trying to resist something and stay in charge of yourself, when you think of command, you're thinking in charge of other people. No, it's also yourself too. So that's like a control command. And if you're going to do something daring and stupid, that could be a daring security or a daring command as well. Yeah, there is a lot of, I will say that about Modiphius mechanics. I think it allows too much breathing room, but it allows too much interpretation and not enough of, rattling stuff off and moving on from there.
Yeah.
So, Toby?
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Y'all basically covered it. My thoughts are I like the system and I think it runs good enough. I like the aspects of how it goes.
How do you like momentum and threats?
Oh, I hate you.
See, because there's also 4 additional things that do work with this. There's momentum.
Momentum's really nice, but the only thing I disliked is that you had to use the momentum to get past the threats, and it was annoying. So you couldn't use your momentum to do something fun that you wanted your character to do on the side. You had to use the momentum to get past a threat. Well,
depending if the difficulty score was too high, but I do like the I do like I'll talk about the difficulty in a little bit, because there's about to be something about to be the difficulty that will be regarding momentum and threat. So, but yeah, you are right there too. Which one thing that
it was annoying.
one thing I am upset about our game though is that we didn't I didn't have enough knowledge as a GM to understand how determination works, and I don't think we've ever faced off with a situation where the determination was a factor, because the determination, when you spend a single determination, you get a D20 towards a task, but the issue is you would like to that is recommended to be used on a situation that applies to your specialty as well. Reason for that is because when you spend a determination, you still get to roll your 2d20, but you get an automatic success, and you don't want to just spend, and those do not come in wide variety. You start off with 1, you can have up to 3, and 2 other things the GM has to award you. And honestly, I will say this about the book as well: it is not widely put out there when a determination should be applicable to award. So I will say that. Threats, the GM does start off with 2 threats per adventure, and actually I screwed that off. I screwed that up again. I thought it was 2 threats per adventure, but it's actually 2 threats per player per adventure. So if you already have 3 players, I start off with 6 threats. If I have a full bookshelf of players, I've already got a stack full of threats, and I'm only allowed up to 6, and then I can gain bonus from that as well. And it's like, holy crap. I think that's a bit of a loose mechanic with that. It should just be 2 threats per game to start off with. So if you start off with the game, you only start off with 2, but it should not be 2 per player. I will say this, I did not like that. I thought that gave the GM too much power to screw with the players and not allow the story. Because the thing with Star Trek with me, it's not about the mechanics of the game that you're playing or using. It's about the story. And I mean, if I can throw threat at you guys left and right and cause you guys nothing but harm, how does that allow your characters to develop, and how does that allow you to advance in the game?
Yeah, it's no fun if we can't do anything fun.
Yes, exactly. Especially when you guys are spending momentum to counteract my threat. And you guys don't start off with any momentum.
We finally get to do something we want to do. We can't, you go like, oh, I really want to succeed at this. Oh, wait, I have no momentum.
Right. And the players do not start off with the momentum in the beginning of the game. The one thing I do love, though, I think I'm going to focus a little bit more on is what you call 0 task difficulty. What that is the players will roll against a task of 0, and anything that they get above 0, they get momentum for. We have had one instance where they were able to get 6 momentum easily. So I think that maybe that might be the counteracted formula. That could be also me as a GM not using that properly of when that should be. I'm still reviewing videos right now of other people playing. I'm not going to name off who I'm referring to because I actually ended up meeting one of the players.
That's awesome.
Oh, you did?
So, yeah. I met one of the players of the famous Star Trek Adventures TTRPG. Like I said, I'm not going to say the name because I did not have the permission to out them like that, and I'm not going to. But yeah, I actually ended up just meeting one of the players by accident.
Awesome.
I didn't realize I was talking to them, and I didn't realize who they were until after we were having a discussion regarding Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the TTRPG for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I didn't realize who they were. So.
I have a copy of that.
Oh, you do? Oh, man. We may have
2 copies of the revised core rule book, the Monster Smackdown, and Slayer's Handbook, but not the Magic Box.
Not the Magic Box. Okay. Threat. Okay, so momentum can be used to roll an extra dice. The way it works is if you want a 3rd dice, you spend 1 momentum. If you want a 4th dice, you got to spend 3 momentum. The way I understand it, because you got no, maybe I'm wrong about that. That is another mechanic that is not explained very well. Because the way I understand it, it would have to be you got to spend the one momentum for 1, and then to get another dice, you'd have to spend 2 additional on top of that. And I think that's how it's worded. So to get 2 dice, you need 3 momentum, and to get 3 dice, you would have to spend you got to spend 1 momentum for that 1 dice to get the 4th dice, because that's how it's worded. It's word 3rd, 4th, and 5th. To get the 4th dice, you need to spend 2, and to get the 5th dice, you got to spend 3. So you'd have to spend 6 momentum just to roll 3 extra dice. Of course, you should not be faced off with a task that you're not specialized in, that where you would need that availability, because that gives you a hell of a, you could get a +5, you could get a 5 success if not more, and that's just wicked. But I mean, at the same time, we did play this, the name of our ship, the USS Hailstrom, and I'm going to tell you guys this right now, as a GM, I did make a mistake in our game.
What was it?
The ship's talents. The ship has talents equal to the scale, and you guys use the USS Hailstrom as a Miranda class vessel, and that has a scale of 4. So you need 4 talents. You only have 2.
Oh,
so I will be outfitting it. So I will be re-outfitting it for the new adventure in case the USS Hailstrom makes a cameo appearance. So
you'll be refitting it, so to speak.
Yes. Real quick, I gotta answer something.
Okay.
All right. And threat is used to increase complication range. What a range of complication is I can increase the fumbles, and I can spend enough momentum where I can increase the fumble dice all the way down to 16. So that's a little bit crazy. But yes. That's the mechanics there. Other mechanics that there's other things that if you guys want to know more, I would recommend buying the books without spending too much more time on this, because there is a lot to the mechanics. There's stuff of what you can use momentum for. You can use momentum to increase your critical hit range. You can create an advantage. There's create an opportunity, create a problem, or obtain some information. There's just so much in there, and that by itself is an entire chapter.
Honestly, I think it would be a decent effort to just go through the chapters and rules of the book, similar to how you did Fate Core.
Yes, absolutely.
Because this is just a really massive book, and
the book is nearly 400 pages, and they cover I will say this to Modiphius, they did cover as much as they could in 400 pages. So the next thing I do like about the book that I am going to do a small review on, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, because this is the biggest chapter here. I believe this goes from page 100 all the way up to like 200 or 300. This is the biggest part of the book, is the character creation. They do spend a lot of time, and they even give you a chart in the book regarding how to do it, to make sure it's called a checklist, and making sure that you hit all your checkpoints regarding making sure your attributes are right and whatnot, and all that stuff. And they do in the book tell the DMs how to divide up the characters. So you got the player characters, the main characters that are NPCs, the supporting characters, which are also NPCs, and then you got lower non-playing characters, which they're NPCs, but they're the lowest of the low NPCs. So you got 3 tiers of that. Then you got the player characters. And then they tell you, I feel traits and values are kind of vague. They should explain that a little bit better, but I think they do hit the nail on the head after reading it like 10 times. And then it tells you how to come up with your, attributes, gives you examples of each. Like we've already covered that. Like Witch King says, this is a very massive book. The only thing I did not like about the book is they did not give you a really big example list of focuses. I do have a focus list, but I had to get that from a third party, and they say, and I had to go through and make sure that it worked. And yeah, I did not like on how you didn't have a big notice of focuses. And like I said, the chart's name is actually the Life Path Overview. I just got to the chart. Mind you, I just went through like 10 pages. I just went through like 10 pages to get to it. And it's basically a step list. It tells you from step 1 all the way to step 7, which is wrapping it up. So, and then, in the book, it gives you everything you need to pick a species, such as Endorian, Bajorian, tells you which era they're from, and tells you which eras you could play them in. So, very good. I think that's very good. Like, for instance, the Endorian and the Bajorians can be done in I believe in any era. No, Endorians can be any era. Bajorians are only the next generation and beyond. So the 24th century.
I mean, it is technically feasible to have a Bajoran in the 22nd or 23rd century. It's just really difficult to find out a reason why.
Yes, yes. And it does give you now if you guys are familiar with if any of you guys are familiar with life paths, it does give you life paths, the life path scenario where you roll on charts and stuff like that. Like I said, I think
That's
that's the
honestly one of my favorite things in the Modiphius games, where they have the life paths, because that's just what I love, life paths in role-playing games.
well, and it kind of gives you instead of saying coming out with something out of thin air, it gives you it kind of gives you an idea of what to do. So
And
like
it
I
gives
said,
you
that's
more
the
of an idea of the setting as well.
yes, yes. Um holy crap, I'm still going through the main chapter here of character creation. There's just so much here, and it's like I said, I don't think we can even cover it in much time because we've already been going for an hour. Oh, one last thing I do want to address regarding character development is we do use experience. We use milestones. Milestone seems to be like the new mechanic that a lot of people are using nowadays. A lot of gaming companies are, because there's milestones in D&D 5e. Toby can probably back me up on that one. There's milestones
Most
in
of the
Figure.
modules that they come out with, like
Mhm.
that are published modules, like Lost Minds of Fendelver and Ascent to Avernus and all the other ones, they go off of milestones, not XP.
Yeah, absolutely. And we use milestones here, and they do have a clear picture of what you can spend the milestones on and how to obtain them. So I am glad that they picked up there. And then the last thing that they have here is reputation. And in Starfleet, you have to have a good reputation to get promoted.
I don't know what you mean.
Except unless you're a non-commissioned officer. I didn't know this in the book, guys, but if you guys play non-commissioned officers, to get promoted, you only have to have a reputation of 10, which is what you start off with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so I should be higher. What the heck?
Well, just mind you, though, everyone outranks you because non-commissioned officers are lower ranks. An example of that is Miles O'Brien.
Didn't he become a chief engineering officer, though, in DS9?
No, he was the chief engineer, but he was
But
still
he wasn't the chief engineering officer, gotcha.
No, he was a chief engineer, non-commissioned officer, but he was not enlisted. Reason why is he didn't want to deal with all the political. He announced it in the DS9 episode where they said, where Bashir was going to everyone, says, "Hey, I have to get you your physical," and he says, "See, this is why." He made a comment of, "See, this is why I'm glad I'm a non-enlisted officer. I don't have to deal with that BS." And he literally said that, so. And you have example. They give you. I love it. They give you tons of tables on this stuff, so that way it's very easy to figure out what is positive, what is negative, and then you can give your officers the correct court-martial demotion. Which, Toby, you want to talk about your potential court-martial that almost happened?
I'm innocent. It was an exchange of cultures.
That's BS, and you know it. Yeah, so he was the only one, but I was not, but he managed to get cleared up. He's like, "Man, I never watched Star Trek." I'm like, "You don't have to watch Star Trek, just don't do anything stupid." Because
I wasn't trying to do something stupid. It's
you're
not
like, "Oh
my
my god!"
The other person took it the wrong way.
Monster, open fire, open fire! It's like
that wasn't what happened. I got in a fight.
You did get in a fight over blood. And you're like, "I don't know why you don't like me." And there was a security officer that just didn't like him. But that's because he was, what was he? He was a human Vulcan with a Klingon upbringing. I loved how I was able to blend that in on a random table roll.
Yeah, that was the lieutenant or the lieutenant commander of the Hailstorm, right?
Yes, he was lieutenant commander of security.
No, but you all know what made it even better is that even though we both almost got in trouble afterwards, we became really, really good friends.
Well, because he has the Klingon respect.
We became like best of friends, and it's the, "Hey, my guy."
One tossed punch, and any Klingon is friends afterwards.
Yes. So I do want to point out that another thing that this book does give you is how to create new worlds. And they even have the classifications, and they give you all the mechanics to create a world and to create a story around that world with the proper. They tell you how to deal with the hazards that the planet gives you, because obviously a Class M planet's habitable. They may have some local hazards, that's fine, but like if you go to a Class M planet, that's new. What is a Class M planet again? Isn't that like nuclear radiation or something? Oh yeah, Class M. Class M are no, not Class M. Class Y. Whoops. Sometimes called as demon planets, Class Y worlds are noted for dense, toxic, highly corrosive atmospheres. And there's other classes such as A's and stuff like that. So we're not going to go too much into that. And then it even gives you about how to create alien encounters with species that already do exist in the book. And they even tell you how to make up your own species, both sentient and non-sentient. I created a sandworm. Wait. What was it, a sandworm? You guys remember the first game we ever played?
We fought a Mugato.
We did?
Yeah.
We have not fought a sandworm.
No, we haven't fought a sandworm.
Why did I think it was a sandworm? You know what's funny is I actually have the game. I just transferred the game to my new computer, but we'll talk about that later. And it even talks about singularity, supernovas, neutrons. I mean, it's just rich with Star Trek lore. I can't keep going on about that because I've said that like dozens of times already. Oh boy, I think we're pretty much covering everything here, guys. They do cover things about social conflicts and combat conflicts, which in the book they do talk about what to use for that. So I have read the book. That's all I'm going to say. What about the equipment? What can any of you guys already because that's the next thing to cover. What can you guys tell me about the equipment real quick before I take over?
Tell you about the equipment in Star Trek or in the game?
Well, in the game.
What do you guys remember of that? It was very similar to a lot of the mechanics in the system. While it did match the setting of Star Trek, it very much was very open to interpretation in a lot of ways. And it wasn't like, okay, so you're doing this amount of damage with a phaser, and this is how the phaser works, and this is how big the phaser is, and this is how much it weighs, and stuff like that. It's not like that. So if you're looking for a more, I know this is not the gauche term to use nowadays, but if you're looking for a more simulationist game, Star Trek Adventures is not for you. I'd go to Traveler if you want to do that.
Very good. Very good.
Because we didn't get a lot of equipment. We got our uniforms. That's all the equipment that we were wearing.
You got your standard issue.
Yeah, standard issue. I got a badge of some kind because of my character's relation with Klingons.
Right. But that wasn't a weapon.
That's not really equipment. I'm talking about wearable equipment, not weapons.
Okay.
There's not much to go off of wearable equipment other than just your standard issue. And then the weapons, it's technically, only thing I have on my character sheet is a phaser type 2. But
okay.
I know on the ship we had phaser rifles that we could spend like a momentum to grab. But that's all the equipment we really came across.
Yeah, there wasn't really so body armor, environmental suits, and field personal force field suits. The problem with that is wasn't really they weren't really standard issue. They came in at a cost, and the cost isn't. We don't do credits for cost. In this, we do what you call an opportunity 1 and an escalation 1. And in the book, if you actually flip to the back of the equipment page, they tell you what that is. Really, when it comes to, and they also give you your protection damage or your resistance, which is basically how much points takes out of the final cost. So the resistance is for body armor, it's 2, for personal force field, it's 4, and for environment suit is 1. So yeah, I mean, we didn't really do a whole lot of that because there was cost on it. All I gave my players was the standard issue stuff. So standard issue would be a phase pistol or particle rifle, depending on what is considered standard issue for Starfleet. Phaser type 1 or type 2. Phaser 3 comes at an opportunity or an escalation, which actually comes at both. And that's how it kind of does it. It goes, basically you got your name, your type. It does tell you if it's melee or range. It does give you damage rating. If there's a specialty to it, tells you what that is. You can look that up. Some of the specialties are knockdown, vicious 1, area, intense. Now if it comes at a cost, if it comes like at a say vicious 1, this does the vicious 1 damage that comes at additional damage plus whatever the special effect does for you. A size rating of 1 to 3. 1H, 2H, or 3H, that's concealment. At 3H, you're not concealing anything. 2H, you might be able to hide, but somebody can spot it. At 1H, you can easily conceal it. And then you have your qualities such as non-lethal, deadly, hidden 1, and that too is also explained in the book. That most of this stuff is limited for player knowledge. The only person who needs to know what each one does is the GM, and the GM needs to know about the special effects. It's not bad if the players know it either, but it is, it's important that the GM should know it, and it is a necessary must. So it does put a lot more pressure on the GM. And then you have other tools that are portable, such as tricorders. I mean, if you guys know anything about Star Trek, it's they can also come in at standard issue, and there's no table for it, but they do tell you it's opportunity 1. So I mean, it's your normal Star Trek, esque stuff. So so we've reached starships. In this one, they tell you how to put together a starship. And basically you choose a space frame. It's a step process. Creating a starship is like creating a character. You start off with space frames. It gives you some mechanics, and you even have a checklist for it. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that because that is similar to character creation as well. So basically in this one, the ship is treated like a character. So, and it talks about star bases and colonies, rules and combats of starships. Like I said, I'm not going to dwell on that. It's very, I'm going to say this though. I don't personally care for, I don't care for the starship rules. I don't think on how much damage a starship does. Regarding that, I think it's a little bit drawn out, and it can draw battles if you don't know what you're doing. So you need to really read that. So that's all I'm going to say for that as well. Gives you a lot of information on there, and I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I just started like 25, 30 pages ago, and I'm still flipping through it. So,
yeah. You're good.
I will say this, if I haven't said it already, very informative. Mm-hmm. Very informative. How do you guys feel? Very informative?
Yeah, it's very informative. I know I'm kind of the dissenting opinion for a lot of our game reviews, but that's because I don't typically play the games unless I'm playing them with you.
Yeah.
I tend to prefer more OSR or not so much narrative-based games as this one. And
yeah. I mean, this gives a lot. And I think that's why people are going with a lot of OSRs, is because it's easier to learn the mechanics, easier to get people into it. This is just I gotta say, wow, very very informative on Star Trek lore. I think a lot of it is just a little drawn out stuff, and you're sitting here going, oh my god, where is everything? I gotta say the biggest thing is I love the artwork. I love the artwork.
Yeah, the artwork is fantastic.
I think that's pretty much everything, because the rest of the book just gives you examples on alien and adversaries, game mastering. Honestly, like I said, my biggest downfall with this review here, I feel is I can't show a lot of this off because it will give you guys information in my video, which I could get flagged for, and I'm not going to risk that. I'm trying to do a good review to get people to buy it. So if you want to know more about how game mastering works, which I covered a lot of that, I told you guys what you guys need to know. As a game master, you're going to need to know this book from cover to cover. It is sad to say, but it is what it is. But this gives you a lot of ideas to create your own Star Trek, basically your own Star Trek adventure, your own aliens, your own starships. This gives a lot of good ideas of what belongs in this universe. There's a lot of lore, just a lot. And it even tells you how to quickly come up with an NPC starship. It's not the NPCs inside the starship that matter, of the enemy that you're facing. It's just what's the average of the crew. And I do like that. They made that easy. They do talk about pacing a lot, which I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna read that more. I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm gonna read it. So I'm gonna read it later. Because I am trying to get back into Star Trek. I don't like any of the new Star Trek series that's coming out. I want my own Star Trek series, but I am not licensed to write it. So the best way I can get close to fulfilling my Star Trek addiction as well as my tabletop addiction is this game right here. So hopefully when we get back into playing, I will be more adept and we will be able to keep the pacing going a little bit further. And this book does give out, like I said, adversaries and stuff that you can be faced off with. But the biggest thing I like is it does give you 2 character sheets, one for the starship and one for the character. So on that, I do recommend this book. We've covered a lot of, like I said, we've covered a lot and this was almost a 2-hour stream. We covered a ton of stuff. There's just too much to cover in just a single review, I feel. But I'm not going to make a part 2 to this because I think we just, at that point, we're just pacing ourselves with everything that we just said. I felt like that. So I think we're just going to end it right here. Real quick, before we do wrap it up, I do want you guys to, once again, talk about for a good example, why don't we talk about your guys' characters for Star Trek, the USS Hailstrom? Let's talk about that because we've talked about the mechanics. We've talked about the dice. We talked about how the dice is not your normal translation. So how about this? We talked about how it is also, dramatic and does have a feel for it. And Jace has told me to keep it up. I am keeping it up, brothers, best I can. So I want to talk to you guys about your characters specifically, real quick, for our USS Hailstrom game that we will not be streaming. We play it off stream, but I do want to talk to you guys about, on a serious note, wrapping it up at some point to complete the adventure, because you're not far from it. You're about halfway through it completely for that whole campaign. And then, because like I said, your goal was to get to play out a story for the USS Hailstrom from the year 2380 to 2384, because in 2384 you are to retire it. So
yeah, I'll talk about my character if you want first, from what I remember.
Yeah, either or.
You're on top. You go first.
Okay. I played a Denobulan engineer. I can't quite remember his name. Maybe Tabletopper.
Zeph.
Yeah, Zeft. His name was Zeft, because I remember I used a name generator for Star Trek, and for whatever reason, a Denobulan name that it spat out was Zeft. And he was he grew up on an agricultural part of his homeworld, and he was very open with his I guess the term would be sexuality, but I mean most people are in Star Trek, just not to the degree that Denobulans are. He was honestly my favorite Star Trek character that I've ever played, and that's saying something because I did play a couple other Star Trek characters in the course of my gaming career. He honestly, if we had continued with that game, he would have I think he was already topped out at the highest rank possible for our game, because at some point he would have potentially had to become captain, and Tabletop didn't want that.
Well, it's not that I didn't want it. It's, I had to start moving around some other things, and it's not that I didn't want it. I wanted to continue more, and then, but I'm not beyond you playing a. Well, let me back you out here. That's my bad.
Yeah.
I'm not beyond you playing another
lieutenant,
character. I mean, I'm good for that. I just wanted to get your character more. I don't know. I just wanted to hear more of Zeth. I was actually a big fan of that engineer.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yes, that's one that I was, like I said, I was a big fan. I didn't want him to go. Actually, no, but you're about to become a lieutenant commander. I don't think I've actually fully upgraded you yet.
I swore that he became a lieutenant commander near the end of the game.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure
it out.
No, because
we were on a vacation period. You were still a junior lieutenant.
No, not junior. He's a full lieutenant. He outranks you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm actually going through all my notes because I actually have access to all this stuff still. I know we had tribbles.
I hate you.
I love the tribbles. Didn't someone kill all the tribbles? Oh, that might have been Ironcaster. Oh, that was you? Okay.
I was because Ironcaster wasn't there, and we were trying to figure out a way we could engineer some kind of pest control.
Yeah, and it
method.
turned us into tribbles. I hate you.
Well, it didn't turn us into tribbles. It basically reacted with our minds, and
you passed out, and then you were dreaming that you were a tribble.
Mm-hmm.
I hate you.
Psychedelic drugs.
You mix one chemical
I plead the
wrong
fifth.
way, and
My
it turns out
pleads the fifth.
You mix out one chemical the wrong way, and it turns out perfect.
I know, right? All right, Toby. Why don't you talk about Rollis Trin here, and we'll wrap this up.
So my character was Rollis Omar Trin. He was part of the command division. He was the ship's pilot. He wasn't the brightest in social interactions. He was a Vulcan Betazoid hybrid with issues, to say the least. He became a blood brother to a Klingon, so he likes the Klingons. He did a couple. Although he didn't rank up, he got really good connections within the crew itself.
You did rank up, by the way.
Oh no, I didn't. Why is that? I mean, I didn't rank up as quickly as the Witch King.
Oh, okay.
He ranked up versus where Rollis was building connections with the crewmates.
Well, right. And then Takor, who was played by Ironcaster, I wish he was here. Good man. Mm-hmm. He was ranking up mediocrely, but he was also playing his character how he feel his character was, because his character was a full Cardassian. Yeah. And the 2380 is when the Cardassians were finally able to join Starfleet. They dissolved everything, or they're getting close to dissolving their fleet, and joining the Federation. It's if anyone who watch DS9, you will learn there's a process on joining the Federation, and they're in the process with man, I cannot remember who the famous Cardassian was that is now president. Garrick. Now I remember. Garrick is now president in my universe.
But I would say that Takor, he had some opinions that the Bajorans would hold as anathema.
Yep. I will give it that, yes. So
he would be, in today's parlance, what would be called problematic.
Yes. Very much so.
We clashed heads a couple times.
And of course, I covered NPCs, and the NPCs were fully fleshed out with stories. We're going to be doing more of that coming up in the near future, where when we do if we have time, instead of doing our normal episodic of, okay, here, here's a downtime episode, here's a lifetime episode, which is what I did. So every adventure we did, we had a downtime adventure where we didn't have to roll, we didn't have to worry about things. But we're not doing that coming up in September, just so everybody knows that we
ends. Still have to finish our vacation.
Yep. You guys are playing. What are we playing? Rollerball, and then someone's supposed to go for Jama Haron. Which I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover Jama Haron in a stream. Whoops, someone's calling me. I don't know as to why. I'm going to be covering Jama Haron in a stream, which will be kind of cool. So yes. All right. Well, that is everything that we're going to cover in this stream. I will be having another one today, covering just the Command Division supplement, which is not as extensive as the core book. Congrats to Modiphius for throwing out a lot of information. We do appreciate that. But we also do appreciate the not so the books that are not so informative, but that just adds addition to you. We appreciate everything you guys do. I at least appreciate you. I'm a big Star Trek fan. I think this does do Star Trek justice. I need to become just a more not the word diverse, what's the word? More fluent. So that way I can rattle stuff off the top of my head with this, and we can keep the game going, keep everything going, and hopefully we can bring out Star Treks because, you know, more Star Trek fans, because I am going to announce later on what's going to happen with the USS Hailstrom. As an announcement, that campaign is going to be part of a larger campaign. My players are not going to play their characters. We'll talk more about that later. There's a lot more details and rules that I'm writing out. I have lost a lot of sleep over it. So yeah. Well, in the meantime, you know, my good co-host here, Toby, go ahead and tell everybody thanks for coming and whatever else you want to say.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming. I'm the punching bag as always, and thanks for watching the videos. Make sure to like and subscribe for future content, and thanks for tuning in.
And Mr. Witch King here. Why don't you give yourself a little bit there? Again, guess what I got for you. There you go.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So I'm the Witch King. If you are at all interested in some of the similar kind of content, probably not as well produced as Tabletop, unfortunately, go to my channel, check it out. If you like it, if you like even one video, I would say just give me a like, subscribe, comment if you really want to. But it all does really help. Hopefully at some point I'll get to 50 subscribers so that I can start using my phone to show off my books. Because right now I can't do that with the YouTube app. Let's try to get to 30 subscribers at this point, because I'm one away from that. And as always, I hope you enjoyed Tabletop's videos. I hope you enjoyed mine, and I hope you enjoyed this review.
And of course, this is me, Tabletop Junkie. Thank you for all who came to review my channel. I will definitely, and thank you for my hosts for coming as well. I will be hosting another video today. Hopefully, I did put it on Twitter that there's one today, but I have to actually make a emergency phone call real quick. Nothing serious. It just I got to make a call back. I got to talk to someone. That's all it is. You know, life gets in the way. But I do appreciate those who have came for this review. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope it was informative. I hope you guys say, let's start a Star Trek. Let's go buy Star Trek books, get a group together, and make another crew for my campaign. What I'm going to actually announce what I'm doing right now. Once I get off of here, I will be talking with my co-hosts here because they are part of my USS Hailstrom campaign about wrapping it up. I'm getting ready to place their crew's history on my timeline, because what is going to happen is I am feeling like I may just turn my campaign into a live campaign. I will be posting the timeline of how my campaign works on a separate video. But this is not something that I can do by myself. I have to have their approval as well for reasons. And that's just me being respectful regarding it. But I would like to see more groups doing more of this, and us maybe getting together, doing some, just some additional stuff, because Star Trek is a culture. And I feel like it's a culture that has not been nursed for some years now. And now it is, I dare not say that I feel like it's a culture that's being diminutive by the current writers, but I'm just not fans. I'm just going to say I'm just not a fan. It's not that I don't like it. It's not that I don't approve of it. I'm not a fan. Star Trek is a way of life for me. I'm that big of a fan. I'm a diehard fan. Very diehard. If diehard has that. I have been trying to get my hands on a Star Trek suit, stuff like that. So that just goes to show you guys that's how big of a fan I am. And so when I first got shown Star Trek Adventures, I fell in love with it. So if you do like my video, please like and subscribe. I am looking at reaching 50 subscribers. I'm only 8 away from that. I'm hoping to gain more. And we will be doing more reviews coming up. June 8th, we are doing World on Fire campaign, Sorority House. We'll be starting. I will be getting with people on that. And then September 7th of 2022, we will be starting a Star Trek Adventures campaign. It'll be limited to 12 streams only. 12 streams is what we'll be running it. At the end of the 12th stream, we'll wrap that up and call it a season. And if we ever go back to it, we'll have another season. It'll be a completely new ship, completely new crew, completely new ideas, and it'll be a completely new adventure that will run alongside the USS Hailstrom. That is the idea for it. Because right now I have made polls. I tried to play in other eras, but right now the 24th century is leading the polls. So it looks like I may just do that. And that way that'll allow other groups to go, hey, here's some ideas, and they can use my ideas in their campaign and say, hey, is there a way we can meet up the crews? This is my way of trying to bring out that culture again. Because it is a culture that is now not out there anymore, it feels like. So I want to bring that out. I'm a Star Trek lover. That's all I can say. So, please go to my co-host Witch King's channel. He is trying to reach 30 subscribers, so he's one away from that. Someone, come on, give him a subscribe. He's really good at this stuff, and he's going to do, hopefully at some point, a far Trek review, which is an off-brand of Star Trek in a sense, but it's Star Trek-esque. Us Star Trek fans, we got to stick together. Those who don't, particularly care for the new stuff, you are not alone. Us original Star Trek fans are here. I don't mind some of the elements of the new stuff, but I don't like violence, because Star Trek is not all about violent and death and everything. It is about scientific discovery, diplomatic solutions, and problem solving. I just feel like that doesn't exist. Say that again.
And a hopeful future.
Yes, and I just feel like we're not really seeing much of a hope in the new stuff. That's just my argument. So, but like I said, my stream is not all about that. It was about doing the review for this game here. So I appreciate for everyone who's come out. I will be getting on another video here soon. I'm just going to be running a little bit late because, like I said about that. So other than that, I want to tell everybody to thank you for tuning in and work hard, play hard. My famous game hard, game on, everybody. My famous salute to all of you tabletop fans out there, and also Star Trek fans. I found out just last night, one person I've been talking to has been a diehard Star Trek fan just like me, and I found him through another stream as well. So my respect to Alex too. You know who you are. So yeah, game on, everybody. You guys have a great week. Okay, have a wonderful day.
Adios.